Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brothers, let me be absolutely frank and honest with you. I want to go to sleep. They said to me, the night is young. I said, yeah, but I'm not. So, I'm only going to talk for 10 minutes. Unless you brothers give me your attention. And the first way to do that, brothers, is that those people who are leaning and sitting far need to come closer. And the second thing is, any brothers with their phones out need to put their phones away. Third thing is you need to fill the gaps. Fill the gaps, brothers. And fourth thing is, don't prod each other and talk between yourselves as some people were doing in the other bayans, as I observed. Fill the gaps, brothers. Brothers? Do you understand English, brother? Come. MashaAllah. I don't smell that much, brother. Come on. Come, brothers, MashaAllah. And because of people's reluctance after all of that, to come closer and to put the phones away and to fill the gaps, therefore I'll stick to my rule of 10 minutes. I'm going to talk for 10 minutes, and if people are still plugged in, then I'll carry on. Otherwise, we'll call it a good night and we'll all go to sleep. Alright? 10 minutes. Ab timing karo. I know you do. I'll tell you one story in 10 minutes. Brother, don't do that. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention. I'm a school teacher, number one. So, I'm a parent. And I'm old. So, you know that parents have a sixth sense. Teachers have eyes at the back of their heads. So, I'll catch you out if you've got your phone out and you'll just mess it up for everyone else. And if I suddenly stand up and say, Chalo bhai, good night, assalamu alaikum, then you'll know that you're to blame and you're all the sins on your head. So don't do that. Some people are proper clever. You know what they do? They sit alti-palti, cross-legged, yeah, and then they dip the jubba a little bit, then they put the phone in there, then they sit like this, like they're proper concentrating. But I've got a vantage point, you see. I'll catch you out. So brothers, 10 minutes inshallah. I'll tell you one quick story and then inshallah it's good night. God bless. Having said that, last Ramzan, a few months ago, I was in London. It was a nice hot day. It was a Sunday, and the next day I think it was bank holiday or something as well. So they said to me that deliver a bayan. So I said, listen, I just want to go to sleep. It's after Zohar in Ramzan. They said, no, it's Sunday and they've got the day off tomorrow as well. Masab, come on, you can do it. So I said to the brothers, I sat down like this and I was very honest with them. I said, listen, I just want to go to sleep, as I'm sure you people do. And so let's just keep it 10 minutes. So I started. And alhamdulillah, we ended up sitting for about an hour. I spoke for close to an hour. And at the end I said that, bhai, that's not down to me. That's due to you people. Your motivation, your hunger, your thirst. Allah Ta'ala says, أَنُلْزِمُكُمُوهَا وَأَنْتُمْ لَهَا كَارِهُونَ. That you think that you're going to be dismissive towards my deen, towards the words of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, towards hidayat, towards such a great ni'mat and bounty, and you're dismissive, you're not bothered, you're inattentive, and you think I'm going to toss it upon you. Allah Ta'ala said it doesn't work like that. This is why our scholars are told that if you are delivering a speech and people are taking their phone out, first of all tell them, and if people still continue to do so, then wrap up the bayan. Why? Because the words of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam are more precious than that. Nobody takes out their phone when the doctor's talking to them. Nobody takes, if you go to If you go to a school, a good college, then nobody takes out their phone in the lecture theatre or during a lesson. If you go to a kachara school, then anything goes anywhere. Yeah? If your lawyer is speaking to you, you don't take your phone out. Why? Because those words are important. So more than that, the words of Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are more important. Therefore, brothers, you should always get in the habit of listening attentively. And when a people listen attentively, then the speaker speaks. Otherwise, if people are inattentive, Allah Ta'ala doesn't put anything in the heart of the speaker also. So one story that comes to mind is, there's a friend of mine by the name of Sheikh Yahya, and he was illustrating how when we commit ourselves to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we commit ourselves to doing something for Allah with sincerity, then how Allah ta'ala helps us. He says that I was studying in university, and I was studying human behavior and psychology. So, and I was also the imam, because he said I had a beard, so I was the imam. They appointed me the imam in the masjid on the campus. So he said I used to deliver the Jummah khutbah and the bayan. So he said then another university, which was on the other side of town, they contacted me and they said, our imam is going away. Sheikh Yahya, can you on such and such date come and deliver the bayan? So he said, okay, opportunity for me to deliver the words of Allah and His Rasul. Said I agreed, and I penciled it into my diary. He said then, as we approached the date, the exam timetable was released from my university, and I found that my psychology paper was on Friday, was at the time of that Jummah Salat. So he said that now what do I do? Do I call them up and cancel and disappoint them? What do I do? So then he said, I thought to myself, then I thought, no, I'm doing this for Allah. So inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will help me. So I prayed 2 rakats nafil namaz, I made dua to Allah, and then I went to speak to my lecturer. So the lecturer, he was an Islamophobe, maybe he was racist or something. So he listened and he said, Mr. Yahya, we're not here to accommodate your religious practices. This is a university, not a mosque. So he said, then I appealed to him again. I said, listen, I'll do the exam before everyone else, and I promise I'll leave and I won't talk to anyone, I won't share any questions. He said, no, you won't having any of it. So he said, then I thought to myself, what do I do? Now my exam is at the time when I'm supposed to be leading Jummah Salat. So, and now this paper is really important as well. So he said, I debated with myself, and it came in my heart that it doesn't matter. I'll do this for the sake of Allah, Allah will help me. So he said, I rang up the university and I said, don't worry, I'm coming. So he said, on the day of the exam, said I went along and I led Jummah Salat. Straight after Jummah, I didn't talk to anyone. I ran out, I drove like a madman across the town, and I parked in the middle of the thing. And he said, I ran it in, thinking to myself, whatever time I get for the exam, so be it. Allah will help me. So I ran in, I looked at the clock, there was 10 minutes left of the exam paper. So the examiner, with a smirk on his face, he handed me the paper. So he said, I sat down. Now I had revised for this psychology paper. I really revised, worked hard. It was multiple choice. So he said, 10 minutes, Ya Allah, whatever I can acquire in 10 minutes, make me pass with that, Ya Allah. I don't need 100% anyway. In 10 minutes, I'll try to answer whatever I can. So he said, I read the first question, and because I'd revised, I knew the answer was D. So I marked it D. Then I went on to the next question. Read it quickly, thought about it, looked at the choices, D. Next one, D. And the examiner, the lecturer, he's rocking on his chair and he's calling out 8 minutes with a smirk on his face, looking straight at me. 6 minutes. And he goes, me like a madman, I'm going through. And everyone I read, D. So after I've done about 8 answers, I'm looking, I'm thinking, D. Man, what's going on here? But he said, I didn't have time to go back and check my answers. Limited time. So he said, then I just, next one, I looked, D, Allah, D, Allah, what's happening? And then the examiner goes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds, and everyone else has put their pencils down. I'm sweating away. I thought, Tawakkaltu ala Allah. Ya Allah, I don't know what's happening here. Yeah? Some answer is better than no answer. That's what they're saying. You people who are sitting your GCSEs, if you don't know it, just plug it. Yeah? Better to write some answer in there than to, you might get lucky, rather than to leave a gap, a blank. So he said, I thought to myself, right, what am I going to do? 30 seconds left. I thought, Ya Allah, Tawakkaltu ala Allah. I just went D, D, D for the rest of them. All 100 questions, D. And he said, then I handed in the paper. The examiner came round, massive smile on his face. So you finished, have you, Mr. Yahya? And he took my paper, me with a trembling hand, I gave my paper. And he said, then we broke up for half term or something. He said, I went home and I made dua to Allah. Wallah, I did all of this for you. I revised. And I didn't want to disappoint. I led the Jummah thing. This person, he was not accommodating me. Ya Allah, you accommodate me, you help me. Ya Allah, please, don't make me fail. So he said, we had a 1 week break. I kept on making dua. He said, after the break, I was not looking forward to going back to university. I feared the worst. He said, I walked into the university with trepidation, walking down the corridor, and that lecturer was coming down the other way. So, me being a good Muslim, I said, good morning, sir, to him. And he went, I thought, I'm dead. He's not replied to me. I'm dead. I must have done really, really badly. He said, when I went into the lecture then, he had a morose look on his face, dead glum, the lecturer. And he's not making eye contact with me now. Whereas before he just kept looking at me, and now he's not making eye contact. And he said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we had this test. I told you a lot to revise, blah, blah, blah. But it's with great disappointment I have to say that 80% of you have failed. And the rest of you haven't done very well. There's only one person who did exceptionally well. But let me just say that this was not just a psychology paper, it was also a psychological experiment by myself. He said, all the answers on the paper, I had determined that they would be the same. And I wanted to know how many of you would doubt yourself. Therefore, the answers to all the questions were the same. And he went round and he's handing out the papers. Sheikh Yahya says, when he came to me, he threw it onto my desk. He didn't even make eye contact with me. I looked at my paper and it said on there, 100%. And the lecturer says, the answers to all the questions were D. He said, however, due to some anomalies, we shall never be conducting such an experiment again. So Sheikh Yahya says, that anomaly, you know what that is? That's Allah. Due to some inconsistencies, we won't be doing it. You know what that is? That's Allah. I did it for the sake of Allah, the help of Allah came. That's not to say, brothers, footnote, disclaimer, the answers to all your GCSE papers are D. Don't try this, I hope. Okay. But my point here, Sheikh Yahya's point is, when a person does something, commits himself with sincerity, for the sake of Allah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah ta'ala does not fail or disappoint that person. You people are at that stage in your lives where you are at a crossroads. The dunya, with all its fake glory, is streaking across your sight. Yes? Is running past you all the time. Is being exposed to you all the time. The fake glory of the dunya. And the fake promises of the dunya are being presented to you. Yes? On the other side, there's a boring, dry, Maulvi talk, promises being presented to us, as we heard today in the bayan. Yeah? Dry, boring. Why? Why do I say dry and boring? Because as a youngster, you don't see any of that. Jannah's a long time away, a long way away. Yeah? Allah Ta'ala will help you, Allah Ta'ala will do, yeah, whatever. Yeah? You'll get Jannah and you'll get this and that, yeah, whatever. But the dunya is the here and now. So at that crossroad, a person has to make the right decision. Many people at that juncture, and everyone who's been young has been at that juncture. Vast majority of the people, they make the wrong decision. They go for the fake dazzle and glitter of the dunya. They go for the here and now. And what happens is, when a person goes for the here and now, for the dunya, for the pleasures of the dunya, then life's a song. It's very pleasurable, it's good fun. You people are sitting there thinking, Astaghfirullah, what are you doing? You're supposed to say, no, it's bad. It's not. It's great fun. Life's a party. There's great enjoyment in it. Why should I lie? Why would people do it? Why do people do alcohol and drugs and sex and all that? Because there's enjoyment in there. There's no doubt. You can't lie about it, can we? Allah Ta'ala has kept it like that. But there is enjoyment in there, there's no doubt. But primarily, initially, for some time, not forever, there's enjoyment in there. On the other hand, the other road is a road of obedience of Allah. That path is a path of difficulty. We can't lie, we can't kid ourselves. It's difficult. Waking up for Fajr, waking up for Tahajjud, going out in the path of Allah, these things are difficult. But they're only difficult for some time. Eventually, when a person perseveres, then, are you alright with this? Brother, are you alright? If you want to talk, you can come. I'm running out of time anyway. 10 minutes to ho gayi na. Next 10 minutes, batch is coming to an end. Inshallah, segment coming to an end. So, when a person, he perseveres on the path of sin, then the real result comes, which is anguish and heartbreak and sadness, anxiety, perplexity, and no peace of mind. Whereas on this path, where a person perseveres, at first it's difficult, but when a person sticks to it, then Allah Ta'ala gives him the flavor of Iman. This is why the elders, they say that there are two ways in which a person can live this worldly life. Everyone in the world right now is taking one of these two paths. Either a person can live the life as desired by his caprice, by his desires, or a person lives the life required by Allah. The life which is desired by the caprice, that's a life of enjoyment and fun, partying for its time. But the conclusion of it is destruction and heartbreak. And the life which is required by Allah, that's a difficult life initially. But eventually there's such sweetness and relish in there and such a success that a person cannot explain that to anyone. Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu was a great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, and we know that they didn't make things up and they didn't lie. He says, on the one hand, I get wedded to the most beautiful, drop-dead, gorgeous supermodel. Very, very young, beautiful girl. And I get to spend a night with her, my first night. On the one hand, I have this choice. On the other hand, it's a very cold night. It's raining. I'm soaked through to the bone. I'm standing in prayer, shivering, knowing that next morning I'm going to face a formidable enemy and I may meet my death. He said, I choose this night over that night. When death is staring him in the face, when he's going through difficulty, he said, that night I prefer over this night. Why? He said, because this is the pleasure of the dunya, is short-lived, and that will bring me the pleasure of the akhirat forever and ever. The Sahaba Kiram had the sweetness of Iman. Why? Because they pursued it. They weren't like us, spend 2 days in Jamaat and think, oh, it's not for me. Spend 10 days and say, all right, yeah. Breakfast is really good, you get beans and toast and, scrambled eggs. Yeah, it's good. Well, like one person said to me, I hit a chilla as well. I said, it's not a cricket match. It's not six that you just hit and then walk off back to the pavilion. I said, but you got to persevere. Sometimes, we think to ourselves, I spent time in Tabligh as well. Back in the days, I spent 10 days, 3 days, 40 days. But yeah, it's all right. But why is it that this guy, all his life, he's still going? All his life he's going. He's going, his heart is breaking, his wife's heart is breaking, his kids are crying, it's difficult. Why is he still going? Why? Because he's persevered. Allah Ta'ala has given him the sweetness of Iman. Ramzan has just come and gone. Some people, they struggled with rosas and they were happy when the Eid moon came, they were dead happy. Even if it wasn't coming, they would have bought it. 29 years, I'm done. And then there were those people who, after Ramadan, fasted for the six fasts of Shawwal. Why? Because there's a relish there. People like me, when Ramadan came to an end, Qiyamul Layl and Taraweeh came to an end. 2 rakats nafil namaz after witr became difficult. I've done my Isha namaz, what more do you want? And yet there are still people outside of Ramadan who are still standing in their nafil salat as long as they were standing inside their Taraweeh salat. Qari Tayyib Sahib Rahmatullah used to pray 1 sipara all his life in after Maghrib namaz in his awabid. All his life. And as people we've seen, Hafiz Patel Sahib Rahmatullah, before Zohar he used to come, long nafils, right up to Zohar namaz, then after Maghrib, and so on. Why? Because they had tasted the sweetness of Iman. Why? Because they persevered. And when we will persevere, brothers, then we will find the relish of Iman. Then we will find out what Islam is all about. Otherwise, you ask a Muslim nowadays, what's Islam all about? Wearing good clothes on Eid, eating loads of steaks on Bakra Eid, and when we have a wedding, everyone just goes wild, and all your cousins come down to your house. We have a 1-week bash, and then you starve yourself in Ramadan. That's Islam. Vast majority of people, that's Islam. But the people who persevered, they found that no, Islam is a beautiful thing. Islam is worth sacrificing your everything for. Islam is worth sacrificing one's own existence for. Hazrat Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala says that in the battle of Uhud, when we were sandwiched between the enemy and a massacre was taking place, the mountain of Uhud was over here and Medina is over there. Allah Ta'ala take us again and again. We find that when you come from Medina, then Uhud is right in front of you. So now, because Muslims were being massacred, people were running away from the mountain of Uhud, running towards Medina to save themselves. It was only natural. And so Sa'd radiallahu says, I was trying to save myself, and so I was running in that direction. And as I'm running with the rest of the people towards Medina to avoid the onslaught, he said, to my amazement, I found Anas bin Nadhr radiallahu ta'ala running towards me. Now common sense says that Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala should have said to Anas, bro, what are you doing? You're going the wrong way. There be massacre over there, don't go there. Yes, that's what should have happened. But Allahu Akbar, look at the Sahaba Kiram. Sa'd radiallahu says, I'm going towards Medina, and I meet Anas radiallahu who is coming in the opposite direction, coming towards Uhud, and rather than I say something to him, he says to me, oh Sa'd, where are you going? Al-Jannatu ya Sa'd wa Rabbil Ka'bah, inni ajidu rihaha min duni Uhudin. Oh Sa'd, where are you going? I swear by the Rabb of Kaaba, I can smell the fragrance of Jannah coming from the mountain of Uhud. And Sa'd says, before I could stop him, he went and he jumped in to the enemy concentration until he was killed, and all the wounds that he had suffered were all on the front side of his body, and only his sister could recognize him by his fingertips. He gave himself. Why? Because not only did he taste the sweetness of Iman in his heart, he made so much effort that it became a physical reality that he smelt the fragrance of Iman. and the fragrance of Jannah. This is who the Sahaba Kiram were. And because his brothers fall asleep, hey, bro, hello, how come you get to sleep and I can't? Chala, we wrap it up then. Allahumma bi ismika mutu ahya. That's it. Thanks for the signal. Huh? Sorry, brother. Rude awakening. It's been a long day. So, brothers, this is what we have to vie for. When we will, and the elders give a very beautiful example. Today, we are all going for the here and now, the pleasures of here and now. Yeah, the life desired by the caprice. When in fact, we should be going for the life required by Allah. But we should know that because we're going down the wrong path, ultimately it's going to lead to heartache. The elders give an example. There's two people, they had eczema, skin condition, and it got really, really bad. So they had to be hospitalized. Anyone who's got that condition, Allah Ta'ala grant all of them shifa. So they got hospitalized. So now the consultant comes and he talks to both of them. He gives them a bayan. He says, listen, you guys, you've not been staying out of the sun, you've not been taking your medication, and you've been scratching yourselves too much. So now we've had to admit you, and you're going to stay here for 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, you've got to take the medicine we give you, you've got to eat what we give you, and hopefully after 2 weeks, I'll be able to send you home. So they're listening and nodding their heads, but then he has to give them the other side. He said, brothers, if you do not listen to me, if you don't follow our instructions, then this rash is going to get worse, and if you keep on scratching, then the germs and bacteria from under your fingernails will get into your blood system, and you could get an infection. And I've seen cases where we've had to amputate people's legs and arms. So that could happen as well. But hopefully, if you stick to the regime, then you'll be fine. So both of them vowed in front of the doctor that, Mani kasam, inshallah. We'll go with what you say, doc. Yeah, we want to go home. He said, you do want to go home? Yeah, we want to go home. We want to go home. So now, after the consultant goes, these guys, they talk to each other. He goes, Bapre Baap kasam thi. I didn't know he was this bad. Yeah. What are we going to do? He said, listen, me and you, we're a team. We work together. Yeah. If you see that I'm wobbling, you got to encourage me, and vice versa. So they make a pact. That's it. Okay. Inshallah, we'll go home together. So then, now, the burning sensation comes, the urge to scratch again comes. So one of them is like, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. The other one said, no, bhai, don't. Listen, remember what you said? Yeah. Okay. So now they're resisting. Then night time comes. Now at night, the whole ward is quiet. Everyone's asleep. But these two guys, they can't sleep. Their body's burning up. So they say, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. So one of them, he said, forget this. And he just starts scratching. He's loving it. Brothers with the phones out, please put your phone away or exit yourself from the gathering. This is talk of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's bad behavior to do that. So please excuse yourself or put it away. Jazakallah. I'm wrapping up now, inshallah. So he starts scratching and he's loving it. So then other guy goes, Allah, tu hungar hai. So remember what you said? They said, Ger you. Remember our promise? Ger gay. Forget that. Remember what the consultant said? They said, he's dead. I said, no, consultant. He said, the chat bubbles. He was only talking about worst case scenario. It never happens. Forget that, man. Right? Now he's scratching himself. Now this guy who's telling him not to, he's bichara in agony. And this guy who's scratching himself, he's loving it. In fact, after some time, my man starts trying to persuade that guy. Yeah? Reverse psychology. He goes, Allah, you can't beat the feeling. I'm loving it. Just do it. Obey your thirst. These sound familiar, huh, brothers? Where have I heard these before? Samjha? I don't have time to go into that, but I'll just hint at that. The slogans of the dunya are all about the here and now and following your nafs. We should be aware of that. Don't just go crazy and buy the brand. Think, hang on, what's behind this? What does it mean? I was in Jamaat 2 years ago, and the youngsters, they ordered milkshakes and that from this place I'd never heard of. Anyway, so then when they threw everything away, the next morning after Fajr, I went into the kitchen to have a cup of tea. So I sat down, I'm having my cup of tea, and I looked up and I saw the boxes that they had there, the cartons and everything, and there they had the slogan for the company. You know what it was, Dr. Saab? Allah Akbar. Nobody needs to know. For dessert, nobody needs to know. Ask Pamatia, something. Once I was in Ireland, when I was living in Ireland, walking down, and there's an ice cream advert. 2 flavor ice cream, and you know what it was? Khalid bhai? Allah Akbar. Dare to go double. Allah. You guys are intelligent guys. Unless you got your head in the sand. You're reading too much into it, Mazhab. But you know, and there was another one. Unleash the beast. That means your caprice, your shaitan inside you, take it out. These are the slogans of the people of the dunya. It's all around you. You're being bombarded with it. And we're obeying it, we're following it. You can't beat the feeling, just do it. I'm loving it. Dare to go double and all that. No. We don't. I don't go by those slogans. I'm a Muslim. I don't believe all that. So what's your slogan? Like people sitting, which team do you support? Liverpool or Man U? Who do you support? I say, I support Allah and His Rasul. Oh, so never get a straight answer from you. So I said, boy, we have a slogan as well. And we didn't take the slogan from the people of the dunya. People who are here for the here and now, who don't have any contemplation, any planning for the akhirat, who don't have the fear of Allah, who don't believe in Allah. We don't take our lessons, our slogans from them. Our slogan is taken from the Sahaba Kiram. The Sahaba Kiram had one slogan, which they used to chant when they were in the path of Allah sometimes. Sahaba Kiram's slogan was, Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah. Oh Allah, this life is not the real life is the life of the hereafter. Compare that to all the other slogans of the dunya, of the people of the dunya, all the corporate, all these companies, and you'll find that all of them are about the here and now. Just do it. It doesn't matter if she gets pregnant. It doesn't matter if your mum finds out. It doesn't matter if your mum's heart gets broken into 1,000 pieces. It doesn't matter if your dad can't sleep at night. Just do it. You can't beat the feeling. But we're not about that. This guy who's scratching himself, he's about that. He's saying, I'm loving it. Just do it. And the other guy goes, no, boy. Don't you remember what the consultant said? He said, forget all that. The next day, the nurse brings in their medicine. My man takes it. This guy, he puts it in his mouth, and when she's gone, spits it out. No, big pharma's trying to poison us. You don't take all this stuff. Then, when the food comes, when the lunch comes, because they're on a strict diet and regime, it's lettuce and celery and leek. Yeah. Dr. Saab, I Navjan ko le gaya tha last chilla. So they put me in khidmat. Big mistake. So I made them leek soup. Leek soup. So they were like, what's this? I said, listen, let me give you the fazail first. So I gave them the virtues. Yeah. I said, you'll thank me on your wedding night. So anyway, they had it and they polished it off. And they said, hey, this is really good. And they took the recipe. I'm going to make this at home. Yeah. I've never seen it before. But afterwards, one guy comes to me and goes, Masab, you know, I don't know what it is. I've had to go to do pisab. Yeah? I'm running to the toilet 6 times in the day. I goes, why do you think they call it leak? Another guy came to me. First time he had it, nothing happened. The next time, he's running to that. I said, mate, that's why they call it leek soup. And I said, mate, it's good. It's detoxing your body. This is good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so there's lettuce and stuff, yeah. So that guy, because he's determined that look, okay, I'll go through 2 weeks of pain, but I want to go home. So he eats it. The other guy, he looks at it and he says, am I a bakri? Am I a goat? I forgot that. So he phones his wife on the fly. He goes, Jubilee. So she goes, yeah, what did you make today? So she goes, dal chawal. So he goes, okay, to liao je. Yeah. Garam karne tiffin ma lao je, bring it in, smuggle it in. Then he puts the phone down. Then he remembers, takes the phone. Jubilee. Nurses no kehti, huh? Hantari ne lao je, yeah? Heidi, don't tell the nurses and all this, huh? He puts the phone down. And now that guy, bichara, he's eating this leek and celery and he's burning up. And this guy is having a ball. Picks it up and, Ali, bhuli gaya. Pero methi no achar chhe ne table up there. And then he puts it down. And then he remembers, well, murabba chhe ke nahi bachelo table up there. So now he's having all this food smuggled in, and on the sly he's having this. So 2 weeks he has a ball, he has a party. Yeah? He's scratching away and all this. And that guy, he goes through 2 weeks of hell. But after 2 weeks, what happens? When the consultant comes, he looks at the guy who followed all the advice and he gives him a thumbs up. He goes, well done. You've done really well. You can go home. You're cured. Looks at this guy now. This guy's in a bad way. He's got a high temperature. They said, you've not followed the advice. You got infection. We're going to have to amputate you. Now this guy went through 2 weeks of hell, but now he's gone home. He's happy for the rest of his life. And this guy, he went through 2 weeks of fun, but now he's crying for the rest of his life because he's lost his arms and legs. The same is with sinning and following the life of sin, brothers. This is why we have this gathering. We all know it, but the allure of the dunya is so much, and we're getting bombarded so much. Like I said, with this guy, what happened? His own friends started telling him, do it, go on. In the same way, we find that in our communities. Your own Hifz class, madrasa boy, your mom told you, don't hang around with anyone. Hang around with that Muhammad, he's a good lad. Now Muhammad, don't know what's happened to Muhammad, 18. Should I say Muhammad? Akbar, don't know what's happened to him. He's 18, he's turned all weird. Now he's telling me to go clubbing and stuff. My mom said, hang around with him, okay, chalo. And then people start giving targheeb. And if you are walking, if you're on the straight and narrow, then your own family members, your own friends, they start taking the mick. Bomoti avi gaye, but dunya ma badda maulvi mari gaya tujh hai. Oh, you're going to be a maulvi now. Oh, you're dead pious. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. So people, these are the times we're living in, unfortunately. We're walking the path of Allah, the path of Deen, has become difficult, and you get taunts, and you get abused, and you get blamed. And as soon as one of the youngsters used to say that when he started going in Jamaat, he said, anything goes wrong in the house, anything breaks, so everyone just blames me for some reason. What's that all about? So the elder explained to him, because this is what happens. In the path of Deen, this was going to happen. The Anbiya Kiram, they were the target of everyone's abuse. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, likewise, in this day and age, it's not just that in the workplace you may be discriminated against, or in school and college due to the way you dress and due to your following your deen. It'll happen in your own. But you've got to persevere. And once a person perseveres and sticks to it, then Allah Ta'ala will give him that sweetness. Then the Sahaba Kiram, because they persevered, they got the sweetness. Then the help of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala came. Then everything became plain sailing for them. Their dunya became Jannat, and their akhirat Jannat was assured. One brother, from our masjid, he finished his university, and straight away he went for 4 months. And so I went in Gush, and I met a friend of his who just left uni, and he had landed a job straight away with a big company. And he was like, dead, kind of cocky in his manner. I said, oh yeah, he's gone for 4 months, yeah. Meaning he's gone for 4 months now, He's got to spend there, he's got to go to sacrifice, then he's got to come home, then he's got to find a job and all that. And I'm like, ahead of him. I said, bhai, don't think that you landing your job, that's it, now your life's made. And don't think him delaying his finding a job is wrecked it for him. I said, but he's gone for the sake of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The help of Allah will come. And if you and I, on the other hand, we're happy with what we've got, my job, my wife, my kids, and we're not making the effort of deen, then remember that all this has come from Allah. And if we neglect the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah who has given us can also pull the plug on us. And difficulties can also come. So we should always look at ourselves and consider, which path am I walking? Am I walking the path of deen, especially in this day and age, which is the greatest need of the time? We're living in a time when people are adulterating and destroying the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not talking about non-Muslims here, talking about Muslims. People are now making another model of Islam. Yeah? A deen of convenience. Back in the days when you used to get billboards and adverts, they all used to be white faces. Yeah? Then there came a time where they started getting more African, Jamaican people on there. Now, mashallah, mashallah, you get Muslims on there. People tell me, on this such and such soap opera, on TV, they got Muslim characters. Well, mashallah, people get that happy. Muslim representation in the media, in the films, in the soaps, in the adverts. I said, whoa. I fear the Greeks even when they bring me gifts. I said, it's not Muslim representation. It's Muslim representation on their terms. It's not actual Islam representation. So they'll have a guy sitting there with his trim beard, short back and size, dead haram haircut, chaddis, shorts, designer beard, with a wife next to him, tight top, load of chipper chopper, load of makeup, eyelashes out there, but then there's a scarf, and then Islamic banking or something like that, and people say, oh, mashallah, mashallah. Whoa. Wake up, brother. What are they trying to tell you? They're trying to tell you that if you're a good Muslim, with British values, then your wife has to look like this, and you got to look like this. But that's not Islamic representation. That's not Muslim representation. Muslim representation was given to us by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Sahaba Kiram. The people, the non-Muslims, all the Muslims of our time do not dictate to us what Islam is. The ulama kiram teach us what Islam is. The Sahaba kiram show us what Islam is. We learn what Islam is by going out in the path of Allah, by linking ourselves with the ulama kiram, not by looking at the world. Why? Because the world is a world of convenience now. The world is a world of following the caprice, following your desires. So everything cut and paste. I'll finish with this. So a boy will say, Masab, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. Obviously, I'm a Muslim. No, you're not, bhai, you're a Muslim. Say it right properly for a start. The heck? My name's Mo, innit? No, bhai, your name is Muhammad. What the heck's Mo? Okay, sister, what's your name? Sam. What's your name? She goes, Sam. She goes, Sam. I said, what's it short for? She goes, Sumaya. I goes, oh, why didn't you say so? By the way, it's not Sam. And it's not Sumaya as well. It's Sumaya. Oh, don't say like that. I don't like it. So what's wrong with you? Your name's Sumaya. Oh, don't say that. When I do register in school, Muhammad, Sumaya, Nafisa. No, don't say that. I said, what are you doing? Why are you cutting and pasting your deen to try and fit in with other people? Try to fit in with the Sahaba Kiram, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is what will grant us success. So this is what we need to be aware of, brothers. These are the times we're living in, the horrible times, the dangerous times. Our iman is in danger now. When we were growing up in the 80s, our noses were in danger because they had skinheads and stuff. So you used to be scared to get detention because you walk home from school alone, and you might get jumped and break your nose or something. Yeah. So in those days, we felt a bit threatened. Now, alhamdulillah, it's not like that. But unfortunately, now our imans are threatened. Now we have Islamic schools and everything, we have the communities and everything, but despite all of that, our iman now is threatened. This is why we have these gatherings, this is why we have the beautiful effort of Dawat and Tabligh, that we go out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we understand what Islam is, what all the fuss is about. Why is it that people are striving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? At any one time, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world. People are giving massive sacrifices. There are people in this town, Wali Bhai and Rahmatullah and the other elders who passed away, they never missed 40 days for decades. There's one Chacha in our masjid since 1962. 1962, he's never missed going out in the path of Allah. 40 days or 4 months. Yeah? So people are making those sacrifices. Why? Because they tasted the sweetness of Iman. They understood what Islam is about. And this is why we have this gathering, that we understand that Islam isn't just, I'm a Muslim. Islam is a commitment. It's a beautiful religion. It's a key to success, key to salvation. This is what will grant us success. Otherwise, when the blind follow the blind, all shall fall in the ditch. I'll just end with, I always keep saying, forget, I'm not going to say now. Yeah? You know, when we were kids, if you're as young as me, nod your heads. If you're as young as me, you'll know, when we were growing up, problems in the Muslim community. Yeah, what were they? You'll remember, you'd be playing with your cars, and your khala came down. Khala, who was your mom's friend, but she was your khala, yeah, or she was a Hindu, then Masi, yeah, everyone was your auntie, and they'd come down and they'd stay for hours and they'd talk, yeah, so you'd be playing there, and you'd hear them talking about their problems. So you know what the problems were in those days in our communities? Mari roti golni thari, yeah, roti golni thari. This is their dilemmas. I mean, my roti, yeah, my puri ni phulti. Yeah, I try to make pani puri, but my puri just goes flat. Yeah, or my manu kagar nahi aago. It's been 2 months. My mom's not written to me from India, Pakistan, whatever. Yeah, or I've sent a parcel. It's not arrived there yet. These were the problems in our communities. Yes. And stuff like that, my kid, school jora phari now. Yeah, we can't afford new shoes till next year to celebrate. Yeah, these are the problems. Yeah, at that same time, you and I remember that like me, I went to a primary school where it was all aprawalas, it was spot the white kind of stuff. Yeah, then you went to secondary school, there was 80% English. Yeah, so that was our first interaction with English kids. Yeah. And so when you go to the big school, then you go out of the area, now you're out of your comfort zone, now you meet English kids. So then, us guys were dead, like docile and quiet, and so we just keep our mouths shut, we are outnumbered. And the English kids, they'd talk to the teachers and everything, you'd hear them. So then, one girl would say that, oh, my mom's boyfriend bought me a doll's house. And you think, astaghfirullah. Your mom's got a boyfriend. She said, yeah, my mom and dad, they split up, but so my mom just got a boyfriend. And you think, astaghfirullah. And then you'd go home and tell mom, Billy Julie chene, you know boyfriend here. So your mom would say, eto goriya loko. Yeah. Then after the holidays, you'd go and like me, we'd go down to Bradford for a holiday. Yeah. So go to your cousin's house, yeah. You come back after the holiday, so your friend Jason, he goes, oh, did you go anywhere on a holiday? Yeah, I did. Where'd you go? Went Bradford. Okay. Where to? He said, my cousin's house. Not even your cousin, but like everyone's your cousin, yeah. So he goes, I went Bradford. What about you, Jason? Oh yeah, we're at Tenerife. She said, what? Where's that? Is that past Bradford? No, we're in an airplane and everything. Yeah? Tenerife, Maldives, and Hoku and all these places. Half of these places I still don't know where they are. Yeah. So he'd come home and he asked the Mauli Sahib, or he asked your mom, Ma, you know these Gurias? He went on holiday. Say no, apne uni kare. Yeah. They earn and they just blow it. We don't do stuff like that. Yeah. And then they'd come and say, you know, my sister, she got pregnant and she's having a baby. How old is she? Oh, she's in year 9. Yeah. You used to hear this stuff and you used to be shocked. Yeah. I used to be saddened. And sometimes in the masjid, the ulama, they used to say as well, you know, people used to say, dekho in bicharo ko dekho, what life do they have? They got problems in their lives and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And we used to be shocked. Yeah. Now, compare those problems to your puri not pulling. Yeah? There's no problem, is it? Yeah. Somebody's daughter becomes pregnant, somebody's daughter runs away, somebody's kid has a drug overdose, becomes an alcoholic or something, and in the meantime, you're worried about the rate of the rupee or the parcel reaching India or your roti being round. Yeah? It's a non-brainer. Meaning, our lives are alhamdulillah compared to them. But now, unfortunately, in a vast majority of Muslim families, I know, because when we go in Kash, you go in people's houses, people sit you down and people pour out their house, and then you hear their stories. Yesterday, a guy told me a story. I still got a lump in my throat from there. You're not even related to me or anything. I'm like, still, you know, when I heard about his daughter, I'm like, wow. So now those problems that we used to frown upon or laugh at, the same problems have come into vast majority of Muslim households. Why? Because we took that path. We followed their path. Knowing full well that the path that we were on, the path of our deen, is going to save us from all that. So brothers, if we want a good life is not going to come by having a Bugatti parked outside your house. A good life is going to come by having the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Carefree house, a wife that loves you, kids that obey you. Yeah, waking up for salat, waking up for tahajjud, being able to go out in the path of Allah, practicing deen, praying Quran, doing zikr, knowing that Allah is happy with us. That's a good life. Otherwise, a person can acquire the whole world. And then a person, still, you hear. When was the last time, or have you ever in your lifetime heard a Molana committed suicide? You never hear anything like that. Why? Because he told the line, he practiced his deen, Allah Ta'ala gave him peace of mind. He got more kids than you. Mauli says, mashallah, get barakat, 8 kids. You got nuclear family, modern family, hum do, hamare do. You know what I mean? Like a cornflakes packet advert. Nice little family unit. And Mauli Sahib is following the sunnah, so mashallah, 8 kids, a menial wage. Mashallah, Mauli Sahib, you know, so many of our satis, they say, Mauli Sahib, tamne jail bhi jota hata nahi hata, tamne biju kai kaam chahige nahi. One of our Mauli Sahib gets told that, Mauli Sahib, every time we look at you, you're always laughing. So alhamdulillah, bhai. Laughing in the dunya and laughing in the akhirat. But if we are following that path, brothers, then we know that there's turmoil, there's heartbreak, there's tears. And khasirat dunya wal akhirat, the akhirat awaits. Destruction there as well. This is why we have these gatherings, brothers, and this is why the effort of tabligh is taking place. In our communities, unfortunately now we've made tabligh one of those things. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Boharu kam the, yeah, my dad used to go, my uncle goes, my brother used to go, maybe chillo mariavelo, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. That's it. Oh, we had a joke, MashaAllah, that dar chawal was on point. Methi no achar nahi utu pada chalo, maaf kar de. Yeah. And we had a good gathering, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. That's it. No, that's not what tabligh is about. All of us need to make intention to go out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take it seriously. This is our salvation, and this is the salvation of our coming generations. What's going to happen? This is what, 3rd generation, and already it's slipping, it's going. People have openly declared, I don't believe. People are openly declaring now, leaving Islam. So what's going to happen? So this is why, brothers, this noble effort is taking place. It's been taking place for 100 years, almost. So many efforts. Organizations came and went. If you read the history of them in the whole world, so many came and went, and this simplistic effort has existed, has remained. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala has accepted the effort, and this effort has been revolutionary. It's revolutionized so many countries, so many people's lives, so many families. This is why, brothers, we need to take this effort seriously, understand the effort, and make intentions to go out in the path of Allah. Until unless we spend good time in the path of Allah without our mobile phones and totally dedicate ourselves to it, we can't understand this effort and we can't get the sweetness of Iman. So brothers, make intention inshallah. Tashkil karni hai? Nahi karni. Okay, so inshallah after Fajr there will be a bayan. So sleep on it inshallah and make intentions when the next opportunity arises. Ji. Sorry for taking so much of your, but like I say, it's your fault, not mine.
Sorry, but just one key announcement, okay? For those brothers that are staying in